Okay, welcome everyone. We're going to be in 1 Samuel, chapter 24, and titled my message, I Certainly Can, But I Won't. We're going to see that David is a man after God's own heart, a man who wants to do things in God's way, and I hope that we can learn from him and see that though he suffered in the years of pursuit in the desert, he was able to yield the good that God had intended for him in his patient, trusting approach to God. I titled I chose the memory verse of Proverbs 16:9, where we're told that a man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. And that is so true. We have plans, and we should have plans. But God's will be done. And my prayers usually help me to get it done in the most straightforward and God-honoring way I can. So today we're going to see how David's trust in the Lord allows him to learn the lessons he needs to learn and honor God along the way. So let's get started. We're going to be on the west shore of the Dead Sea, in an area called En-Gedi, wilderness of En-Gedi we're going to read about. It's a very hot and arid place. But we're going to find that God provided David and his men an oasis with fresh water, even though the Dead Sea is full of salt water. And we're going to see him provide an opportunity and open a door that he's going to decide is not one that he should walk through. Now it happened, when Saul had returned from following the Philistines, that it was told him, saying, Take note, David is in the wilderness of En-Gedi. Then Saul took 3,000 chosen men from all Israel, and went to seek David and his men on the rocks of the wild goats. Now, En-Gedi actually means spring of the goats, so being in the rocks of the wild goats isn't too surprising. It's an arid, abundant food and water. Saul's selection of 3,000 men, if you remember the math, he has 600 men. So it's a 5-to-1 ratio. Saul's kind of overshooting, I think. You know, you really don't need 3,000 guys to come against 600. But I guess he just wants to make sure that he gets the job done, and he's not going to be under-resourced. So we have him now coming after David. God delivered David last time. If you remember, he was in chapter 23. David was coming down one side of the mountain. Saul was coming down the other side, and they were going to meet. Except God didn't want that to occur. So what did he do? He sent the Philistines and a runner to tell Saul that they were attacking. So Saul backs up and heads back to where the Philistines are. We never hear anything about how that went. We know that he survived it because he comes back again in this chapter. But David's given a respite of some kind, and he goes into this wilderness area of En-Gedi. And we're going to see just how in control of everything God really is. This is a picture of one of the waterfalls in En-Gedi. It's anywhere the water is, it's very green. The rest of it's very dry and arid. There are wild animals there. You can see where the arrow's pointing, where I think it's an ibex. It's a mountain goat of some kind. We were taking pictures of them along the road, and we're going to read about Saul being along the road here in a moment. Going on with verse 3. So he came to the sheepfolds by the road, where there was a cave. and Saul would attend to his needs. David and his men were staying in the recesses of the cave. So here we have Saul coming from his battles with the Philistines, which happened, on the other side of the Shephelah. So it probably went from about 1,000-foot elevation, had to go over the mountains 3,000 feet, and down into the Dead Sea area, which is about 700 feet below sea level. So these guys were trekking quite a ways, and I'm sure it was tiring. Now, the phrase "to attend to his needs," some commentators talk about it as a biological function. The literal words in Hebrew mean to cover his feet. It could be a euphemism. I think he was tired, and he got out of the sun in a cave. So all of his men are out there in the sun, and he's taking a nap. He's just a power nap, just give me a moment kind of thing. So he goes into a cave where it just happens to be where David and all his men are. So we got 600 guys hiding in the back of a cave, 3,000 guys outside the cave, and it's going to be interesting. And we're going to see just how interesting it's going to be. So let's read on. As we've talked about in previous messages, David records a lot of these events in the Psalms. I wanted to share one of those with you, and it's actually titled, at least in my Bible, the prayer for safety from enemies to the chief musician, set to do not destroy. A victim of David fled from Saul into the cave. Psalm 57. Be merciful to me, O God, be merciful to me. For my soul trusts in you, and in the shadow of your wings I will take my refuge. Until calamities have passed by, I will cry out to God Most High, to God who performs all things for me. He shall send from heaven and save me. He reproaches the one who would swallow up. Selah. God shall send forth his mercy and his truth. My soul is among lions, and I lie among the sons of men, who are set on fire, whose teeth are as spears and arrows, and their tongue a sharp sword. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens, and let your glory be above all the earth. They have prepared a net for my steps, and my soul is bowed down. They have dug a pit before me. Into the midst of it, they themselves have fallen. Selah. My heart is steadfast, O God, my heart is steadfast. I will sing and give praise. Awake my glory, awake lute. I will awaken the dawn. I will praise you, O Lord, among the peoples. I will sing to you among the nations. For your mercy reaches unto the heavens, and your truth unto the clouds. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens, and let your glory be above all the earth. David is in a cave, surrounded by 3,000 men, and he's turning to the only one who can save him, and that is the Lord of heaven. He beautifully records the truth that we should be exalting God and recognizing that his glory is over all the earth. Let's read on. Then the men of David said to him, This is the day of which the Lord said to you, Behold, I will deliver your enemy into your hand, that you may do as it seems good to you. David's men are really pushing. They're like, hey, David, look, Look who God sent. He's right here. Now, they had to have done this in a relatively quiet way. So it must have been one of those really intense, whispering kind of conversations. Because we just have Saul go in from the bright outdoors into a cave. Saul can't see anything. But all of David's men have been in the cave, so they see everything. You know, your eyes adjust to the darkness, right? As long as there's some light, they'll adjust. They see everything clearly. And here comes Saul into the cave to rest. And David does arise. His men are telling him, look, this is clear. Your day has come. Your chance is here. So David arises and he goes and secretly cuts off the corner of Saul's robe. So we have the perfect opportunity. It can't be a lot of fun to be chased through the wilderness in Israel. The forest of Horeth, the cave of Adullam, Gath, Nob, going into the Moabite area. I mean, David has been all over the place. And he's been on the run. It's not like he's on a tour. He's been chased hither and yon by Saul and his men. And every time he turns around, he's got to find a way to get away, get out of the trouble that he's in. Thankfully, God's on his side and delivers him over and over again. But David does something strange in a way. His men say, kill him. And he goes and cuts the corner off of Saul's robe. But why did he do that? Why didn't he just kill him? All of his trouble would have been over. He could stop running. He could just go be king. His men were all for it. Everybody around him was going to be thumbs up. Let's make it happen. We're on your team. We're on your side. Does that ever happen to you? Do you ever have an opportunity or something come into your your realm of possibility? It looks so good. It looks like the right thing to do. At least in a human sort of way. But overarching things here. Things that are beyond just the human perception. Saul is a very vulnerable place. He's probably laying down taking a quick nap. He's taking his robe off, he laid it down, and David's gone and cut off the corner. And I don't know about you, but I think I might have done the easy thing, which would have been just to kill him. But I don't think that would have been the right thing. And that's what we're going to have to. So let's read on. What happened afterward that David's heart troubled him because he had cut off Saul's robe? He said to his men, Lord forbid that I should do this thing to my master, the Lord's anointed, to stretch out my hand against him, seeing he is the anointed of the Lord. So David restrained his servants with these words, and did not allow them to rise against Saul. David cuts the corner off his robe, and then has pangs of guilt. He didn't kill him. And yet he's struck in his heart that he even cut the robe of Saul. He's recognizing the position of the king. He touched the robe of the king. He cut a corner of the king. Now, I'm sure that he's not his favorite person. Anybody who's chasing you, trying to kill you, probably isn't on your top 10 list. But he's recognizing the anointed of the Lord. He's showing respect for the position of the king. This is one of those, you've probably heard it described as, respecting the office, not necessarily the office holder. You show respect for the office. It'd be nice if you could respect the person who holds the office, but you honor the office. God appoints all authority. The New Testament tells us that. It tells us to respect the authorities that are in place, and those that are in place are there because that's where God wants them to be. We need to respect the authorities in our lives. We have parents and children, right? Honor thy father and thy mother, that your days may be long in the land. We're to have the roles of husband and wife. Wives, respect your husbands. Husbands, love your wives. We have the governing authorities in the state, local, federal. We owe respect to those who hold the authority of those positions. And David is respecting the anointed of the Lord. So much so that even though he's pained in his heart that he even touched the robe of the king, he's now standing between. So we have Saul over here sleeping, and then we have David and his men back here, and basically David is standing in between the men and Saul. The words in the Hebrew here where David restrained his servants means like crush. He just didn't say, so what do you think, guys? Let's go out for a burger and fries. Yeah, Saul's here, but we're going to go do something else for fun. No, he's actually being very energetically engaged to tell them, no, they aren't going to do it. They aren't going to harm the Lord's anointed. Not while David's there. An amazing reality that you see in the text, that he's defending Saul. He's protecting Saul. The same guy who's trying to kill him. And yet the recognition that he's the Lord's anointed holds him at bay. And his servants are probably kind of confused. But he successfully holds them at bay. Let's read on. And Saul got up from the cave and went on his way. David also arose afterward and went out of the cave and called out to Saul, saying, my lord the king. And when Saul looked behind him, David stooped with his face to the earth and bowed down. Wow. David, you had a chance to stay hidden, out of the way. Saul came in, he rested, he picked things up, and he left. They don't know you're in there. There's 3,000 guys outside. And he's out the front of the cave. And hollers to Saul. And humbles himself before Saul. This is the guy, right? This is the guy who holds a spear in his hand. Probably his right hand. And he throws it at people. And David's walking out to say, here I am, my father. And he bows down to him. Completely flipped the Saul was in the cave, vulnerable, and now David's out of the cave and vulnerable. What is David doing? Let's see. And David said to Saul, "Why do you listen to the words of men who say, 'Indeed, David seeks your harm'? Look, this day your eyes have seen that the Lord delivered you today by my hand in the cave. And someone urged me to kill you. But my eye spared you, and I said, I will not stretch out my hand against my Lord, for he is the Lord's anointed." Now maybe David's pushing the boundaries a little bit. He's got these that are saying these things about David. He's not saying Saul's saying it, although we know from what we've read so far that Saul is pretty much the guy who's saying it, but there may be other people out there. I don't know. But David is kind of, couching terms, but he's saying, hey, I was told to kill you, and I didn't do it. You were in my hands, and I spared you. I did not stretch my hand out to kill you, because you are the Lord's anointed. He didn't tell him, in a way he had to fight for him, because his men wanted to take him out. David's telling it like it is. And it's pretty amazing. And we'll see what it does to Saul. He goes on. Moreover, my father, see the corner of your robe in my hand. He's holding up the corner of his robe. Physical evidence. For in that I cut off the corner of your robe, I did not kill you. Know and see that there is neither evil nor rebellion in my hand, and I have not sinned against you. Yet you hunt my life to take it. Let the Lord judge between you and me, and let the Lord avenge me on you, but my hand shall not be against you." Imagine David holding up this piece of Saul's robe. I can just see Saul now go like this. Holy catfish. He did. He cut it off. Physical evidence. Saul can't really argue with this. He certainly can't think he escaped on his own. David is the better man here. David continues. As the proverb of the ancients says, wickedness proceeds from the wicked, but my hand shall not be against you. After whom, King of Israel, come out? Whom do you pursue? A dead dog? A flea? Therefore let the Lord be judge, and judge between you and me, and see and plead my case, and deliver me out of your hand. David's still humble. Although the wickedness from the wicked, that's a pretty good point. He's not seeing wickedness come out of David, although we could say you see wickedness come out of Saul. But David is maintaining the position of humility. A dead dog doesn't do a whole lot of damage. And even if he was a live flea, although they're irritating, they're not going to do a lot of damage. And we see that David delivers Saul, but David is looking for deliverance not from men but from God. He's not saying Saul's going to deliver him. He's saying that God's going to deliver him from Saul. And that's a big difference. So it was When David had finished speaking these words to Saul, "Is this your voice, my son David?" And Saul lifted up his voice and wept. Then he said to David, "You are more righteous than I, for you have rewarded me with good, whereas I have rewarded you with evil. And you have shown me this day how you have dealt well with me. For when the Lord delivered me into your hand, you did not kill me." He recognized who delivered who into whose hands. All the caves in the area, Saul decides to go into the one where David is. Of all the caves in the area, David and his men are in the recess of the cave that Saul chooses to go to for rest. God did deliver Saul into David's hands. God did give David a test. What's he going to do? How's he going to behave? What's he going to choose? And David passes. He chooses to honor the Lord's anointed, to stand between his men and the king. David is truly a man after God's own heart. David truly rests in the sovereign will of God. David understands that there's God's way and man's way. And while we will see instances where he takes man's way, this is an instance where he's clearly following God. And we can take great umbrage in some senses and hope and pray that we can be as God-centered in our own walk. We go on. For if a man finds his enemy, this is Saul, for if a man finds his enemy, will he let him get away safely? Therefore may the Lord reward you with good for what you have done to me this day. And now I know indeed that you shall surely be king, and that the kingdom of Israel shall be established in your hand. Saul admits to David's hard attitude. He actually blesses David, the guy he's been chasing all this time, trying to kill all this time. And he publicly, his men are probably hanging out there, right there, listening, watching, seeing everything that's going on. And he's saying, "Hey everybody, this guy's going to be king. The guy I'm trying to kill right now." So in a sense, it seems as though Saul is having a moment of sanity. He's actually recognizing that this is God's king, or going to be king. Probably difficult to take in some senses, but so true. Saul goes on in recognizing that David's going to be king. He goes on and says, "Therefore swear now to me by the Lord that you will not cut off my after me, and that you will not destroy my name from my father's house." So David swore to Saul, and Saul went home. But David and his men went up to the stronghold. Now Saul asks for the same kind of protection that we heard David and Jonathan exchange about protecting family and lineage and those who will follow. And David graciously agrees. Remember, we talked about this. Usually when a person becomes the king, the former family of the king is eliminated, so you don't have future problems. And David agrees. He says, "Okay, I will not eliminate your heritage." Saul goes home. 700 feet below sea level, up and over 3,000 feet. It's a long trek, but he leaves and he goes home. But David doesn't follow him home. He doesn't say, great, fine, I can go back to the table of the king. No, I think he, in a sense, he gives him, but doesn't trust him. And that's it's probably a good position to take considering the history. And then David and his men, it says, they go to the stronghold. So what's the stronghold? Well, let's take a look. So David and his men went into the stronghold. And here we have Masada. It's known as the stronghold. So they were up and down where that arrow is, in Gedi, in that area up there by the Dead Sea. And they went up to the stronghold. David didn't go up to Jerusalem. It wasn't his time yet. He would be king, but not yet. Because God wasn't done with him. Why does God allow persecution, difficulty? I don't know for sure. But I know that David chose God's way. He put himself in God's hands. He trusted God to do in his life what was for David. I was told about a man who wanted to understand silversmithing. So he found an expert and watched how he did his trade. And he would hold the metal in the center of the flame. And it would be just the right point. He'd pull it from the flame. So he asked, what is it? How do you know that it's ready? Silversmith told him, well, I know it's ready when I can see my image in it. We're ready when God can see his image in us. So persecution, difficulty can be part of God's way of firing us, preparing us, readying us for the task he's calling us to. I just pray that I can be ready for what he's called me to. And I pray he can make you ready. Maybe you're going through your fire right now. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him. He will direct your path. God is good. God is all-knowing, all-powerful. He will get you through what is that you're going through right now. He'll be with you to the end. He was with David. David trusted him. David didn't go through that door. He said, this guy's in God's hands, not mine. He will be taken out. I will be king, but I'm not going to be the one to take him out. Let's not wrest control from the hand of God. Well, brothers and sisters, thanks for being with me today, even though it's at a distance. And I pray God blesses your time in this time. Pray he protects you and guards you, and that you're strengthened in both your relationship with him and with those who are close to you. And I look forward to seeing you in the flesh. God bless you all.